40% of 5- and 6-year-old children have seen a video nasty showing scenes of sadistic sex and violence horrific enough to have been seized by the police.
All right, Vault Dwellers. Today, we're going to dive into the dark underbelly of cult cinema. This ain't your usual, so bad it's good fare. Nah, these are the video nasties. The films so violent, so depraved, or just so weirdly specific, the governments around the world freaked out and just straight up banned them. Welcome to 13 insane banned B movies. And this is a countdown of flicks that got dragged into court, sliced by censors, or buried under decades of moral panic. Viewer discretion? Yeah, you're probably gonna need that. We're gonna break down each film's sins against polite society, why they were targeted, and how their exile somehow made them even more infamous. Oh, and we're gonna rank them with our own metric. I call it the Nastiometer. And it's gonna rank them from 1 to 5 bloodied VHS tapes, because if we're doing banned movies, we're going full exploitation, baby. So let's rewind to a more dangerous time in home video history. All right, starting us off is this gem released in 1981. Bloody Moon is like if you took a Euro sleaze soap opera, you dunked it in some blood, and then just ran it through a wood chipper, literally. The plot, such as it is, follows a disfigured man released from an asylum who returns to Spanish language school, where a body count starts stacking up like firewood. I mean, it features the best, incest, voyeurism, and a decapitation by saw scene that got it fast-tracked onto the UK's Section 1 list just faster than you can say, Franco did what? While not the most narratively coherent of the nasties, its blend of softcore sex and gore, it made it an easy target for moral watchdogs. It was prosecuted under Section 1 of the Obscene Publications Act, and the BBFC didn't allow an uncut release until 2008. What's wild is that Franco, he had already toned it down for the theaters. This was the restrained version. Outside the UK, Germany kept it on their index list until about 2013, though in most countries, it just flew under the radar.
Satan. O Lucifer, appear forthwith and show thyself to me. I, Stanley Cooper Smith, command you!
In 1981's Evilspeak, Clint Howard plays a bullied military cadet who uses his Apple II computer to summon Satan. Let me say that again. Satan is summoned by a DOS prompt. And if that doesn't scream early 80s panic, I truly don't know what does. Featuring computer-assisted black masses, sword-based decapitations, and some killer pigs, this film basically dared the UK to ban it. And the UK obliged, filed under Section 1 and seized from shelves. It wasn't until 2004 that it saw an uncut release. What really pushed censors over the edge, it was the mix of Satanism in a school setting and some animal mutation. 3 things guaranteed to give British tabloids an absolute stroke. Germany, it also kept it indexed till about 2011, while most other countries, they rated it at 18 and they just moved on. But today, it plays just like Satanic Panic the movie, a perfect relic of an era terrified of technology and teenagers.
It's only me and my grandfather.
Grandfather? Just your grandfather? This place will do just fine.
A lot of these movies have different personalities or names. This one, Lisa, was also known as Axe or the Virgin Slaughter. It's a minimalist rural revenge chiller, clocking in at just 67 minutes. This was released in 1974, the year I was born. And it tells the story of a teenage girl who silently and methodically kills the criminals hiding in her home. It's not overly gory, but it's deeply unsettling. It's a slow burn where the threat of violence just hangs heavier than the actual violence itself. Still, that didn't stop the UK censors from dropping the hammer. Section 1 prosecution followed, mostly due to the psychological disturbance angle. It wasn't until 2005 that an uncut version made the shelves, and Australia refused its classification until the next year, 2006. You know, in a world where slasher flicks were going full throttle, Lisa freaked people out by just whispering. And sometimes, I guess a whisper is worse than a scream.
The crowd would gather at the temple for the great feast, the blood feast that would give the goddess to the people. The young priestesses would be slaughtered on the great altar. Their blood would be caught in silver bowls.
Oh yes, this is the granddaddy of all splatter films. Blood Feast from 1963 basically invented the idea that a movie could be famous purely by how much fake blood it dumps on the floor. And the story, it's sort of a loose term here, follows a caterer turned cultist who butchers women to assemble a feast for his Egyptian goddess. Tongue removals, brain extractions, and a severed limb or two, all served up with Grindhouse flair. Naturally, UK freaked out, though ancient by video nasty standards, this landed on the DPP's Section 1 list and wasn't released uncut until 2005. It even caught heat again in the 80s because of its legacy as a splatter pioneer. Australia and Germany banned or censored it well into the 2000s as well. It may look quaint by today's standards, but without Blood Feast, none of the other gore fests on this list would even exist. Island of Death is a movie equivalent of a sun-soaked dream from hell. A seemingly sweet couple visits a Greek island, but surprise, they're actually Bible-thumping serial killers who unleash a spree of violence, sex, and homophobia in the name of purity. Oh, and there's a goat scene. You'll know it when you see it. The BBFC flat out refused to classify it in 1987. It was solidly Section 1 and didn't see UK shelves again until a heavily cut version landed in 2002. The uncut edition came out in 2010. New Zealand, Norway, they banned it as well. And it was later admitted that this was made to capitalize on shock value, and boy did it ever. Equal parts art film, exploitation trash, and a moral grenade. Island of Death still gets talked about today because of just how wrong it feels.
Fraulein, the Duke, at your service.
Oh, danke.
Oh!
Oh! Hier, there is swimming pool. Oh, come, Bobby.
Bay of Blood, which is also known as Twitch of the Death Nerve, and I love that name, by the way, is the murder movie blueprint. This was released in 1971 by the Italian maestro Mario Bava. And this film features a murder for inheritance plot so convoluted, it makes Knives Out look like Scooby-Doo. But the real legacy? It's the kills. From face-mangling billhooks to spears to entwined lovers, it's basically Friday the 13th before Jason even bought a machete. The BBFC refused it a certification in 1972, And then came Section 1 prosecution during the video nasty panic. Dealers caught with the uncut tape could be fined or jailed. Even when it resurfaced in '94, 43 seconds were still missing. It finally saw the light of day, uncut, in 2010. In other European markets, it wasn't always banned, but its gore got it kicked off many of the shelves. By the way, do you have a favorite banned flick? If you're watching this video, I know you do. So why don't you let us know in the comments? But do me a favor, just try not to incriminate yourself. Yeah, this is the movie that launched 1,000 barf bags. Anthropophagous, also known as the Grim Reaper. This follows a group of tourists who get stranded on an island with a flesh-eating maniac. And this guy, he doesn't just kill them, he devours them. Intestine spaghetti? Check. Fetus tartare? You bet. So this was declared obscene, obviously, under Section 1. The BBFC banned it outright. Dealers caught with it risked prison time, probably for good reason. Even years later, the version allowed back in had 8 minutes pre-cut. It wasn't until 2015 that the full carnage hit the UK shelves. Germany and Australia also had it banned or brutally trimmed down. You know, it's a mess of grainy gore, bad dubbing, and some human jerky. But it's legendary for it. Would you believe that there is a quasi-sequel to Anthropophagous? Anyways, so absurd, it cranks up the gore and slows down the plot. Alright, a superhuman killer escapes from a church-sponsored science lab and goes on a suburban rampage. Highlights include a compass in the eye scene and one of the most horrifying deaths by oven you'll ever see. Unless you've seen the recent movie Thanksgiving. The BBFC, they weren't having it. Another Section 1 prosecution, and this was banned in the UK until a cut version appeared in 1999. It wasn't passed uncut until 2017. Germany also restricted it for minors. Diamanto clearly had a formula. Start with an unsettling premise, add gallons of fake blood, sprinkle in some blasphemy, and then make the audience regret eating dinner. Hey, if you've made it this far, then that tells me you're our kind of weird and we're meant for this channel. So why don't you help me help others find this video? And you can do that by clicking the like button and subscribing. I know we've got more coming that you're just gonna love.
Now, as you know, you will have exactly 5 days once you're in the camp to secure and memorize all the information that is necessary. Martha Grossman is still in the camp.
This film didn't just cross lines. It used them as a jump rope. Love Camp 7 is widely considered the origin of Nazi-exploitation. 2 female U.S. agents infiltrate an SS-run brothel to rescue a scientist, and what follows is this wall-to-wall sexual degradation under the guise of a rescue mission. This is still banned in the UK to this day. The BBFC refused classification in 2002 and in 2020. New Zealand said no thanks, and Australia only allowed a trimmed version until 2005. It's not just the content, it's the mean-spirited, misogynist tone that keeps this one in cinematic exile. Even among exploitation junkies, this is deep-end stuff.
I feel sorry for you. If your conscience is worrying you so much for helping me in these experiments, I'll erase your name and take all the credit for this tremendous discovery.
Oh boy. All right. So the title alone screams trouble, right? SS Hellcamp, also known as The Beast in Heat, which I guess that's a better name, which somehow actually sounds better. This features a sadistic female Nazi doctor and her experiment, a man-beast with a thirst for blood and other things. This movie, it's grotesque, it's gratuitous, and by most accounts, it's just utterly repulsive. This was listed under Section 1 and never resubmitted to the BBFC. I mean, that means it's still unofficially banned in the UK. Many countries won't even touch it with a censor poll. This movie is so inept, it becomes surreal. But that doesn't make it any easier to watch. It's exploitation at its most unhinged, and likely why no one ever tried to remake it. Thank God.
Which had a vested interest in creating the myth of the ferocious, subhuman savage fit only for extermination. The mythical lie of Cannibal Ferox was only an alibi to justify the greed and cruelty of the conquistadors.
So this movie, proudly marketed as banned in 31 countries, and it's really not hard to see why. Cannibal Ferox features eye gouging, genital mutilation, and very real animal killings. A one-way ticket to censorship town. It's a heavy hitter on the DPP list. It saw 6 minutes of pre-cuts just to be submitted to the BBFC in 2000. Even then, nearly 2 more minutes were removed for cruelty. It wasn't until 2018 that we got a mostly complete version. Norway, Australia, Iceland banned it for years. It's the kind of film that dares you to keep watching, but you probably shouldn't.
Over here.
To the center.
All right. You sure?
Uh-huh.
This movie launched a moral panic just with its VHS cover alone. Ferrara's gritty, no-wave horror flick features an artist who snaps and starts killing derelicts with a power drill. More of a psychological meltdown than a slasher, but it was the marketing that made it infamous. It got seized under Section 1 just for that lurid artwork. When it finally returned in 1999, 54 seconds were pre-cut. Only in 2002 did we get the full BBFC approval. It wasn't technically banned in North America, but it was definitely not getting shown at your local drive-in. It became a scapegoat, a VHS boogeyman that symbolized the whole video nasty era.
And yet man seems to ignore the fact that on this very planet there are still people living in the Stone Age and practicing cannibalism. Primitive tribes isolated in a ruthless and hostile environment where the prevailing law is the survival of the fittest.
And so here it is, folks. Cannibal Holocaust. The most infamous of the Nasties. So this was a fake documentary that was so convincing, the director was actually arrested because people thought it was a real snuff film. I mean, this featured sexual violence, colonial guilt, and brutal real-life animal deaths. I mean, it still gets banned or edited to this day. The BBFC cut over 5 minutes of its 2001 DVD release, and I think there's a version with just 15 seconds trim for animal cruelty that was finally passed in 2011. It's been reported banned in 50 countries. The director had to bring the actors to court just to prove that they weren't actually dead. Whether you consider it art, exploitation, or I guess a dare, Cannibal Holocaust is the nasty to end all nasties. You know, these films, they freaked out governments, they scarred the censors, and they built an underground legacy just one seizure at a time. I mean, they weren't just movies. I mean, they were warnings and court cases and moral panic just wrapped up in magnetic tape. I mean, love them or loathe them, the video nasties reshaped horror, censorship, and how we talk about media. And yeah, sometimes they're kind of hard to watch, but they also remind us of why freedom of expression matters, even when it's screaming in a jungle holding a severed head. But before you go, why don't you check out our other deep dives into B-movie cinema, or our breakdowns of movies like 70s Grindhouse film fests. And by the way, keep it weird, folks.